Then the next speaker is going to be Dr. Christian Schultz from UBC in Canada, presenting one of the other kind of surveys that we are forming. And Christian is working right now on basically dual psychosis or comorbidity of psychosis with substance use disorder. But we are forming some other groups and other surveys on other comorbidities as well. So we are talking about kind of substance use disorder and PTSD, mood anxiety disorder, neurodiversity, ADHD, the potentials on that side. So if you are interested to be a part of those committees, you're definitely welcome to be in touch with us and help us to form those communities. Christian, are you with us?
Thank you very much, Hamed. It's really a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. And I'm really impressed by the dynamic and openness of the group. And I only started work with him, but we have made, I think, already some progress. My background is in psychiatry, and I hoped that we kind of continue to develop this global survey. The first picture. Next slide, please. One of the focus of my work is on concurrent disorder, specifically severe concurrent disorder. And I will just touch upon some of the issues and some of the questions and point to them. I'm not going to go into detail. I think most of you know that the concurrent disorders come with a lot of baggage and a lot of issues. And so this is an issue which I found to have a number of people struggling with and hoping to develop actually support and background guidelines and so on. One thing I want to mention is that I'm working in a large concurrent disorder network here, and we are developing a training hub, which will be open access training hub becoming this year. So that might be also an opportunity for some people to join in. There are a number of questions, and we will focus on psychotic disorders, which may include like things, how are psychosis and substance use disorders related, how we do best treat substance use disorders and addictions in individuals suffering with psychotic disorders, then what kind of medication or how do you deal with psychosis induced by substance use and similar questions. I want to point out one thing is that I don't think it's very clear to everybody that there's a huge overlap between substance use disorders and mental disorders. And this is data from Heritability based on actually Schuetz registry. And it shows that about more than 30% of the genetic general factors are overlapping between disorders which seem to be quite different, like schizophrenia and drug use disorders. There's also an overlap with risk factors. For example, we know that childhood abuse and childhood neglect not only increases the risk of psychotic disorders and other mental disorders, but also the risk of drug and alcohol use disorders. While not all risk factors have the same impact on all disorders, there is a huge overlap, and there is an impact which is on both disorders or groups of disorders. Next is also when we look at the brain mechanism underlying, this is a meta-analysis of morphometric differences in individuals who have mental disorders, including substance use disorders, and the other one is similar results from a meta-analysis looking at the default network. And what you can see is that there are areas which seem to be impacted in all disorders. And these areas are also impacted in substance use disorders. So we have some of overlap in risk factors, genetic risk factors, environmental risk factors, but also in the specific areas in the brains which are responsible for these disorders. I learned last time in Valletta, first time I was at ISEM after I've been in ISEM many years ago, that there is this fantastic virtual collaborative network in science. And so I have started to work with ISEM, next slide, on developing the VICONs or with addiction and psychotic disorders, starting out with a first step in doing a global survey. So I was quite impressed by the process developed by ISEM, and also impressed by the support I have received already in developing this project. I'm not going to go through the steps. These are steps Hamed lined out for a similar project, which means that the idea is that the global survey is a starting point for a process which will lead to a network of collaborations regarding training and research. We have started this process, and we are putting a committee together, and as I said, we are still in the initial stages of the process. And we do have a first draft of questions, which we are working on, but which still need to be finalized and also to be further developed. It is based on the experience ISEM has already with the first survey. Next slide. Yes, that's the status currently. So it's first steps, but I'm very excited for this topic. I don't think I need to go into that. I didn't intend, sorry, to have this slide. This is just an overview. I am working in a network with the Redfish Healing Center being the center where we do a lot into education, treatment, and also kind of surveys regarding concurrent disorders.
Thank you very much, Christian. Thank you very much for joining us today and leading this initiative.